as well join us to be a part of this edition. We will take a short break, and once we are back, our discussion will begin. Kindly stay tuned. Don't go away. Welcome back from that short break, dear listener. I'd like to begin with you, Barrister Gbagir. Is the establishment of the EFCC as an institution a product of legislation?
Yes, I think the EFCC was established by the EFCC Act of 2003, and the powers and responsibilities of the EFCC are clearly stated in the EFCC Act of 2003. So it is an establishment of a law, and as such, it is also expected to operate within the confines of the law establishing it.
Okay. Barrister Sorkaa, is there something you would like to add, whether the EFCC was duly established by law and a legislation of the National Assembly, or there was a breach?
Well, there's nothing I would like to add, but just to align my views with that of my senior colleague, that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was established, as rightly stated by him, and it was established for the purpose of tackling economic and financial crimes in Nigeria that has risen, and there was a need because Nigeria was among 23 nations that this crime was rampant in.
Okay, now let's look at from the point of view that it is a legislation enacting to give establishment back into EFCC. Barrister Gbagir, what is the EFCC's constitutional mandate and how has it aligned with Nigeria's anti-corruption goals?
First and foremost, laws are made to cure certain mischief in the society. Before the establishment of EFCC, and even now, the issue of corruption has been a bane of development in our country. And with the return to democratic governance, I think the President Obasanjo saw the need for the enactment of anti-corruption agencies. It was not only the EFCC, ICPC was also established in 2003 with the primary purpose of addressing the issues of also the responsibility, as part of the obligation of the Nigerian state based on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which enjoys state parties to put in place state agencies to combat corruption. And the laws establishing EFCC and ICPC were not put in place by presidential fiat. It went through the processes of legislation, which is at the National Assembly, and where public hearing were also held for these laws to be passed with the representatives, because at that time that these laws were passed, I believe perfectly well that the states that are now complaining that they should be scrapped had their senators at the National Assembly. Also, they had the House of Representative members at the National Assembly that were representing the people at that time. And they went through the legislative processes to pass these laws. And as I said, laws are usually made to cure certain mischief. The point that we need to interrogate is whether EFCC has lived out to its mandate, whether it has been able to, over 20 years of its existence, has been able to cure the mischief or has made progress towards curing the mischief that had existed hitherto before its establishment. And I think that is the nagging question that we need to interrogate and probably prefer answers to, because it goes beyond whether it was legally established. Because if it has not lived up to its responsibility, it means then that it has lived up to its usefulness. And just like in the Bible, they say that the salt that has lost its usefulness, its saltness, has outlived its usefulness. So now it's whether EFCC has lived up to its responsibility as provided in its enabling act.
Okay, and that leads us to the same issue, Barrister Sorkaa, and talk to us from your opinion. The EFCC is constitutional mandate. If I should borrow the words of Barrister Gbagir, that the law is established to cure a mischief. The EFCC's mandate, has it been able to cure the mischief with regards to anti-corruption in Nigeria?
Well, sincerely speaking, the EFCC have not been able to cure that mischief. Because if EFCC has been able to cure that mischief, the budget of Nigeria from 2003, when EFCC was established, would have been able to see development trickle down to the local areas. We are aware that there are certain class of people, which is the politicians, that are untouchable. EFCC will have cases against them, but you keep seeing the cases in court. They will not be convicted, or they'll be convicted, some pardoned, or the cases will keep on moving in court. But the people who are involved in things like Yahoo, those ones are paraded, convicted. The EFCC are going after certain people who ought to have been tried and convicted, who are involved in these financial crimes, and they are involved in it in a large number. So I would not say that mischief have been cured, because if that was the purpose, it was intended to cure a particular mischief, which was the economic and financial crimes. But there's so much still going on in Nigeria, and those people are still there, because I know of former governors who have still moved on, who had EFCC cases, who are still there in corridors of power till today, and then probably EFCC have not even gone back to still look at their cases, or their cases, they were investigating them, but the investigation stopped along the way. So EFCC needs to, I would say they have not cured that mischief, because they have only done a part. So the bulk of the assignment of the EFCC has not been done.
Okay, Barrister Gbagir, how has the EFCC impacted Nigeria's anti-corruption since its establishment?
Well, I wish to agree with my colleague that the EFCC have not done much. And in a sense, so I wouldn't want to place the blame purely on EFCC. I will place the blame on the entirety of the Nigerian state government, or all the institutions of the state are not performing their responsibilities the way they ought to perform. In as much as the EFCC was created as a special anti-corruption agency for it to fight corruption in this country, the same EFCC is manned by Nigerians. And there are some people that are also supposed to support the EFCC to perform its mandate. We have a situation in Nigeria where, for instance, if you go on our roads, you see the police on the road, you see NTLA on the road, you see the road safety on the road, all of them collecting money from vehicles on the road. We have a situation in Nigeria where even agencies of government that are created to cure certain mischief because they are manned by Nigerians, and because of the situation in Nigeria, where they're saying that if you can't beat them, you join them. My father once recently said that for him, when he can't beat them, he run away from them. But we have this situation in Nigeria that if you can't beat them, you join them. So in as much as I agree that EFCC has not performed its responsibilities the way they ought to perform, in as much as they have not been able to address the issue of corruption the way they ought to have addressed, the problem is that of the entirety of Nigerians. Just like my colleague said, one would have expected that from 2003 to date, even if the EFCC were only targeting the state governors, for instance, how many state governors have been tried and convicted by EFCC? If they were only focusing on politicians, how many politicians that have been tried and convicted by EFCC? We are aware that in the past, the EFCC investigated our current president. We are aware that in the past, the EFCC investigated our current Senate president, and so on and so forth. What happens to these investigations? If at all there was no case established against them, was there any official statement from EFCC that we have investigated Mr. A and we have not found anything incriminating or anything wanting? There has been no such statement. The investigation will just go on and then die a natural death. At some point, even in the state here, our immediate past governor had threatened the current SGF that he was going to review his file with EFCC. So we have a lot of files with EFCC that we don't know what is happening to these files. Now, there's a situation where it is like a matter of EFCC is like a dog that the owner sent against his enemies or perceived political enemies. Even the issue that led to the current suit at the Supreme Court, from which the Kogi State commenced. How many governors left office in 2023 with Yaya Bello? How many of them are EFCC investigating? We've only been hearing about Yaya Bello. Why Yaya Bello? Does it mean that he was the most corrupt? And if at all he was the one that was most corrupt, what happens to the others? Does it mean that they have no case at all to answer? So those are the issues. And of course, we've been hearing the current minister of the FCT, Wike, that was boasting that he sponsored all the politicians in Rivers State. Where did he get the money? Is the EFCC investigating him? Have they invited him to come and answer certain questions? So when we look at how the EFCC is carrying out its responsibilities, it is obvious that they are not actually carrying out their responsibilities to address the issue of corruption. And that is why, for me, I'm neither here or there calling for their scrapping of the EFCC, but I feel that a lot needs to be done for them to live up to their responsibility. Because as it stands now, the EFCC are not doing what they ought to do to address corruption in Nigeria. They are only with addressing the issue of corruption.
Okay. Barrister Sorkaa, let me have your thoughts on how the EFCC, since its establishment, has impacted the anti-corruption fight in the country.
Well, my views on how the EFCC has impacted the anti-corruption fight in Nigeria, to be frank, the EFCC has not really impacted the anti-corruption fight in Nigeria. I remember when Obasanjo assented to the EFCC Act for its establishment, and EFCC commenced. its operations, the certain governors were also were investigated. A lot were not arraigned, and EFCC mandate is large and encompassing. Although they have been able to carry out their responsibilities, because for other areas and other crimes like advanced free fraud and other areas of economic and financial crimes, there have been convictions in court. We have been seeing them. But I have been looking forward to seeing the EFCC that will have impact on our politicians who are elected by us. They get into political office, you know what they have, but when they are leaving, they have beyond what they have, especially the governors who have not brought about governance in their respective states. And we see them every day, and so it makes these politicians, it makes politics look as if it's a career, but it's not a career. But if the EFCC were really doing their works, and we had convictions from these former governors, like the case of Kogi State former governor who is in the EFCC net. There are others who were also involved, but I would love to see an EFCC investigating these past leaders and doing convictions, not only convictions about people that are involved in Yahoo or other economic crimes.
But anyway, we should get it clear that the general mandate of the commission, which both of you have established, is for anti-corruption. And anti-corruption here does not entail only politicians, if I should get it right. So with the fighting of the corruption, to stop basically with public office holders, politicians, as you have stated?
It doesn't focus only on politicians, but you see, Mr. Nathaniel, Nigeria from 1999 till date, the amount of money that has passed through the federal allocation down to the states and the local government. Imagine my place of Buruku local government, the monies I see and the increase now, it's not commensurate to what is there. I'm aware that Buruku local government gets about 400-something million per month. But you don't see this. That is why, for me, I focus more on the political holders. Because if these monies that are monies of the people, they are there in trust, the money ought to trickle down. And then EFCC that are there, they also ought to do their work. Because if they do their work, this money will be forfeited to the government, and the EFCC will forfeit it to these states for respective development. And that is why you see me focusing more on the politicians, because I feel that they are the ones that are bringing a lot of lack of development in our country and our local governments. Although EFCC have impacted in other areas of their mandate, in other areas, but I still strongly feel that they should extend their mandate to politicians. They should not be sacred cows in this fight of anti-corruption.
Okay, Barrister Gbagir, in your opinion, what are the major challenges facing the EFCC in its anti-corruption efforts?
Well, before I will respond to that, I will also quickly talk about the issue of whether EFCC should focus on the politicians. We have a saying that a fish begins to rotten from the head. And whether we like it or not, our politicians are our leaders. Whether the president, governors, senators, House of Reps, House of Assembly members, they are the ones that are public figures that people also looked out to. And when you look at them, and then they are living in affluence, when you look at them and they are conducting themselves in a manner that is not proper, when you look at them and they are conducting they are living a life of affluence, spending money, building houses here and there, which is clearly above their means, then there's every need to focus the fight anti-corruption fight against this crop of people. And then they are also the ones that also influence the business community because of their financial dealings. They are the ones that also affect the business community. And then when you look at the funds that are misappropriated through acts of corruption, these are the funds that also affect the generality of the people, just like my colleague was saying. And these monies are 100 times more than the monies that are mismanaged or misappropriated through private business ventures. So when you are talking about the issue of focusing on politicians, I think that is why there's this country, they say that when the politicians, when you engage in acts of corruption, they don't even want to start going through a long trial. Once that's established, it is they stone you to death, and it has reduced corruption drastically. So now, looking at the issue of challenges that are facing the EFCC, I stated it in passing, because EFCC, one of the major challenges that EFCC is a Nigerian agency that is established in Nigeria, it is operating in Nigeria. And as such, it's a major challenge because in Nigeria, we are made to believe, or based on the things that happen, we are convinced that nothing can work in this country. So the EFCC that is established to fight corruption, itself is neck deep in the same corruption. And I think that has accounted for unceremonious dismissal of, I think, about 3 of its chairmen, apart from its pioneer chairman that left office in a dignified manner. I think the rest of them have not completed their terms. And it's because of one allegations or the other. And then when you also look at their operations and some of their staff, some of them, when you check them, you find that they are also living in affluence. Where are they getting this money? And then he also mentioned the issue of Yahoo, all these fraudsters, online fraudsters. Most of the times when EFCC arrests them, they will talk about what they call plea bargain. Somebody who has been defrauding people, and then they will say, okay, you convict you and you pay a fine of 2 million and then you go. A colleague of mine was telling me he was at the Federal High Court where they charged them. And his colleagues were just loitering around waiting for the court to pronounce his verdict. As soon as that was done, they transferred the money and he was left to go. They will go and continue. So the fight is not strategic because EFCC is a Nigerian agency and operating in Nigeria. It have also just using it as a means also to fill their own pockets. Recently, a friend of mine, fortunately I went to see him. I was driving out when the EFCC came to serve him a letter of invitation to appear before them. And after going through the letter, he gave it to me. I went through the letter. And I said that, well, the letter just said that you should come, that they are investigating the issue of receiving money by false pretense. They have not stated who has complained, who has done this. He said, okay, can I help him to respond to the letter? Which I did to EFCC. When the EFCC got the letter, because there was a date, they said that he should report. And I said, we need information. Who has reported that this person has received money by false pretense from him or whatever? Because as a businessman, he has been transacting business with several people, both individual and corporate organizations. So we need particulars of this allegation to enable him come and defend himself. And he's ready to come within between 48 to 72 hours if we get this information. But the date they gave in the letter was, I think, a day or 2 after. So they did not respond to that letter. after the date that he didn't come, they started calling him and threatening him that they invited him instead of him to come. He has engaged a lawyer that has written them. If he wants problem, they were threatening him to the extent that my friend, I have not even spoken to him about the matter because it was as if I have thrown him into more problems. Eventually, when he went there, behold, because when I called him the following day, his number did not go through. I called the wife who told me that it was a case of loan he collected from somebody of 5 million. And EFCC were insisting that they will keep him there until he will at least pay half of the 5 million. So EFCC have now resorted to an agency to be recovering loan on behalf of individuals. Is that their responsibility? And then there was another case during this COVID-19 that a particular lady who did the contract for this face mask, she was given that contract from a government agency. At the end of the day, EFCC were investigating that contract, and they invited this woman. So she insisted that I should accompany her to EFCC. When I went, the EFCC were very angry. They invited her for a simple thing. Why is he bringing a lawyer? And they were then I was the chairman of NBA, and they said that am I so this thing? Some they even told me that, chairman, you don't need to be here. You go. This is the woman is not our target. We just want him to supply information. At the end of the day, that man also called the woman. Why did you take a lawyer there? At the end of the matter was settled. So the EFCC today are operating as Nigerians, not necessarily. And as I said earlier, it's not only EFCC. But since we are focusing on EFCC, I'm focusing on them. So the people that are working in EFCC are no longer pursuing the mandate for which EFCC was established. But they are using the office and the apparatus of that commission to enrich themselves. So that is a major issue. That is the major problem. So if we have an EFCC that all of us, that is why I'm saying that all of us as Nigerians are supporting it to live up to its responsibility, then we'll have an EFCC that will be effective. But as long as it is under influence by Nigerians, using it to achieve personal interest, we will not have an EFCC that will be effective to live up to its responsibility and mandate of fighting corruption in this country.
When you mentioned that it's not only about EFCC, but we're focusing on them, at that point, maybe my mind quickly went to you, the lawyers. There are also allegations in public domain that sometimes you even scuttle the process of anti-corruption fight initiated by the EFCC. How do you react to that?
That is the point is that the EFCC are a creation of the law. They are supposed to operate within the confines of the law. You understand? Once they are not operating within that confines of the law, the issue of whether their action is legal or not. I gave him an option that if EFCC fails to supply the particulars of the allegations they are making against you, the law, the constitution is very clear. Right to fair hearing. If EFCC are inviting you and they are alleging that they are investigating an issue of receiving money by false pretense, they should give you particulars. We have written them to give you the particulars. And if they refuse and they are calling you to threaten you, we can go to court and get a court injunction to restrain them from arresting you. I gave him these options. Eventually, he decided not to contact me further and decided to go to EFCC. And they detained him that he should come and pay 2.5 million out of 5 million loan he collected. It's the responsibility of the EFCC to collect a loan, to recover loan. So, assuming, for instance, that my friend agreed with me and I filed a a case in court to restrain them from arresting my friend, somebody will say that I'm scuttling EFCC's anti-corruption activities. But that's not the case, because they have refused to comply with the provisions of the law, which is very clear. And so as long as they are operating within the confines of the law, because you cannot, in the course of fighting corruption, infringe on the fundamental rights of the people. But if you are operating within the confines of the law, then at the end of the day, we have situations where, in fact, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act even provide that you cannot interrogate or get evidence from somebody without the presence of his lawyer. Even if you will have to inform him that he has the right to have his lawyer when you are interrogating him. This is somebody that his lawyer has written that he is ready to appear before you to answer your question within 48 hours or 72 hours if you supply him with the particulars for which you want to interrogate him. And then you have not responded to the lawyer's letter, and then you call that person and you are threatening him. So as long as EFCC is not ready to act in a very civil manner and in accordance with the law, as lawyers we will not just sit and fold our arms and allow them to just operate as if they are a law unto themselves. They are a creation of the law, and they must operate within the confines of the law.
Okay, Barrister Sorkaa, speak to us, in your opinion, the challenges you see that are facing EFCC in its anti-corruption efforts, and how the judiciary could help the EFCC overcome these challenges from the point of view lawyers.
Challenges of EFCC. Well, the EFCC's challenges are numerous, but I feel that the main challenge of EFCC is their inability to do a thorough investigation on our leaders. That is a major challenge. Do a thorough investigation on our leaders, because if they do thorough investigation on our leaders, they will have convictions in court. They do thorough investigations on our leaders, because our leaders go into political positions, and we all know their means of income and what they have, and then they go beyond the means they have. So that is enough for them to do the thorough investigation on our leaders, because leaders ought to lead and show example. If they do thorough investigation on our leaders, by the time those that have immunity, they leave such offices, they should be arraigned in court and convicted. For instance, now we are not unaware of what Nelson Wike is doing. He does not have immunity, but the way he talks on national TV.
Anyway, let's as much as possible. Let's stay on the issues and avoid
I'll stay on the issue.
Name calling. Let's stay on that.
I'll stay on the issue.
Very well.
But I feel that such a person ought to be thoroughly investigated by the EFCC. There have been no EFCC. I will not call it no EFCC investigation on our politicians that we know. So I'll stick to the issues. I'll not call him name.
Beautiful.
But these are persons that I feel that they are political leaders that feel that they should be thoroughly investigated. Our leaders should be investigated. That is the main challenge. If they do thorough investigation, there will be convictions in court. The investigation should not be only on Yahoo and other economic crimes, but on our leaders. That is the major challenge of the EFCC. Because by the time they go to court and then they don't do thorough investigation on our leaders, most of these cases are thrown out. Because at the court, what matters is evidence. If you don't have evidence against our leaders who are supposed to be examples to us, you will not be able to convict them, because they'll get the best of lawyers, because they also have to put in their defense. And so lawyers don't scuttle EFCC's operation. But of course, if a leader engages senior advocates who put in good defenses for him at the trial, he will win from the Federal High Court or the State High Court down to the Supreme Court, because the EFCC have not done their thorough investigation on these persons.
Well, let me just quickly differ with my colleague. The major problem of EFCC is not whether they can conduct thorough investigation. That's not their major problem. The EFCC is made up of experienced investigators. Some of them that are derived from the police, some from DSS, and they are further trained both within and outside of this country. And the way and manner in which our people in Nigeria also engages in acts of corruption, they leave a lot of evidence. So it's always very easy for them to get the evidence to prosecute. The major problem is that one of the major problem of EFCC, as I kept on saying that, is because it's a Nigerian agency. The EFCC in Nigeria has not been given a free hand to operate as an agency. Recently, there was an attempt on the life of Donald Trump. And if you see how the U.S. Senate were interrogating the U.S. security agencies, FBI, for their failure to provide and do the necessary thing, do we have a Senate in Nigeria that can summon the chairman of EFCC and interrogate him in that manner? Because most of them, like as I said, even our current Senate president has a fight with EFCC. Do we have a Senate that can summon the EFCC chairman and interrogate him in that manner? I say categorically no, because their hands are not clean. So we have a Nigerian state where everybody is neck deep into corruption, and the mandate of fighting corruption is overbearing on EFCC. They are not even giving free hands to operate. And that is why they pick on people that are vulnerable, people that don't have protection. There are some people that should be standing behind bars now that the EFCC are not going after them because they are enjoying protection. So EFCC, one of the major problems of EFCC is that they have not been given a free hand to operate. If the EFCC were given a free hand to operate, most of the people that are in the National Assembly or the Senate should be in prison, not the Senate. Most of the people that are occupying political offices here and there should be in prison and not occupying any political offices. But they have not been given a free hand to operate. So some of us, we are sympathetic to them because they have been given a very serious responsibility without giving them a free hand to operate. If today Mr. President called the EFCC chairman and said that I'm giving you a free hand to operate, no sacred cows, you can go after anybody, even among my ministers or any politicians, you have the right to operate, you will see that the EFCC will unleash come out of their shell, and then you will see that they will be more forceful in carrying out their mandate. But the way things are now, they cannot. In the past, we had the Code of Conduct Bureau when we were growing up in the 80s. We only had the Code of Conduct Bureau, which is established by the Constitution. Even the civil servants at that time, as a civil servant who is collecting, let's say, for instance, 100,000, you know that you cannot go and build a house of 10 million because the Code of Conduct Bureau will come after you. Do you understand? We gradually, we came to a situation where nobody cares how somebody suddenly becomes very rich and then start acquiring properties here and there. So, even when EFCC was created, it was not again given a free hand to fight this corruption. So, for me, the problem is not only with the EFCC. we're talking about the issue of the court. All of us are blamed, and that's why yesterday when I was discussing with somebody, that when you are talking about scrapping EFCC because they are ineffective, it is as good as saying that, okay, let us scrap also the police. They are also ineffective. Let us scrap the courts because they are ineffective. You go to court, cases that are supposed to be determined expeditiously, they will last there for years. In fact, recently I was reading in the papers that the case against one of our former governors, he was even in court and sat there till evening, and then the matter was again adjourned. For whatever reason, I don't know. So we have a situation where all our institutions are ineffective and they are not living up to their responsibilities. So it is not only the EFCC. So if we must have an EFCC and have a state that will be operational, let us allow the institutions of the state to operate within the confines of the law and live up to their responsibility. And let us have a National Assembly, for instance, that can call to order, can call these agencies to come and answer questions if they are found not to be living up to their responsibilities, instead of calling for for scrapping of the institution. What are we going to do to strengthen the EFCC for them to be more effective? That should be what we should be looking at. And then, in any case, I think I understand that the Kano State established its own anti-corruption agency also.
Yes, same as Kogi State that has
exactly.
initiated this.
The state can also establish this. The state has, based on Section 4 of the Constitution, the state can also, if they find that there is need for them to establish anti-corruption agencies at the state level that will also support the EFCC. Even if they exist, they will collaborate with each other. So that there are other matters that EFCC can even refer to the state anti-corruption agencies. There are some other matters that the state agencies can refer to EFCC. Because corruption is a very serious issue in this country. We need collaborative and partnership efforts for us to fight this corruption. But if now, at least no matter what, in court, even if EFCC is picking on some certain people, at least we have an agency that is picking on some certain people. But in a situation where we don't have none at all, the situation will degenerate the more. So for me, it is how to reorganize the EFCC, create state anti-corruption agencies, see how they can partner to fight this corruption in our country. Because the former president Barr said that if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. And corruption is actually killing us in this country.
All right. Dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makurdi, Benue State. We are discussing the propriety of calls for scrapping of the EFCC by some governors. And I have here in the studio, leading the conversation, former chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Makurdi Branch, who is an anti-corruption advocate, Barrister Justin Gbagir, and another legal practitioner and public affairs commentator. He is a notary public, Barrister Nathaniel Sorkaa. At 10 o'clock, we open the line for you to contribute on the subject. The line through which you can reach us is 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, we have already activated the line for SMS, which is also available on WhatsApp. Utilize it. That line is 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. Log on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us and access all other content we have there. Download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which serves you to listen to the radio, watch the television, as well as read the newspaper. Is available in that one-stop app. Find us on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where the program is also streaming. Barrister Sorkaa, before we engage with the listener soon enough, in your opinion, what could be the primary reasons behind the governor's call for the scrapping of the EFCC, and especially that most of them are in their first term in office?
Well, I have seen the matter is in court, so I'll not discuss the matter in court.
No, we're not going delving into the legality of it at all.
Because it is sub judice.
Very well.
But the reason behind those 16 states going to court is a constitutional provision. They are relying on the Section 12, sub 3 of the Constitution. And it's talking about, I think Section 12.1 talks about how to implement a treaty, that the National Assembly can also do a law, may do a law. That's in the Section 12 sub 2. Then the 3 says if they are doing such a law that is in that sub 2 of that 12, that's the sub 3, talks about the consent of the Assembly, House of Assembly. And that is where these people have approached the court. But I am taken aback because this matter was brought by Kogi State government. The other 15 states government just joined of recent. And their main reason is that they are saying that the EFCC was established upon an act that was assented by the president, and they did not get the consent of the respective House of Assembly. So that is the reason why they are going to court. They have a genuine reason for going to the court based on the constitutional provision I just quoted, Section 12, sub 3. But I strongly feel that in view of the fact that before this law was assented to and signed by the President Obasanjo, there was so much public outcry against Nigeria. The Nigeria police force, with due respect, had failed in the anti-corruption fight. And so with the coming of ICPC and EFCC, Nigeria had a different outlook. And that helped Nigeria. What President Obasanjo did really helped Nigeria. And I still align my views with my senior colleague that EFCC should not be scrapped. And I think that the reason by the respective people going to court is based on a constitutional issue, but I feel that on the issue of the fight of anti-corruption that the EFCC has been doing, and they need our support. They also need the support of these respective governors too, because if corruption is fought to a standstill in Nigeria, Nigeria will progress in so many areas. And just like President Muhammadu Barr has said, corruption is always fighting back. But their reason might be genuine to them, but I think we have gone past that, because if the President Obasanjo assented to the law, Goodluck came in, Buhari came in, and now we have Tinubu, and all these other presidents did not talk about. There was nobody approaching the court. It was until last year that Kogi went to court, and then the others are joining now. And most of these governors are in their first term, the respective states that have joined. So I strongly feel that their reason might be good in the eyes of the law, but for the purpose of the UN convention that made the National Assembly to pass this law, and it was signed. And the state government did not complain in 2003, 2004, down till 2024, which is about 21 years now. And then we're now trying to see how we can score through EFCC. And if EFCC, I'm not trying to preempt the court, but I'm just trying to say that if perchance EFCC is scrapped now, how will the world even view Nigeria? So I think the governors, like I respect the governor of Anambra and I think one other state, they withdrew their applications. From what we saw yesterday, they withdrew.
Yeah, as yesterday, three states were reported to have
they
withdrawn from
the Supreme Court case. So the reason of the governors might be genuine, but in the light of the backlash that we'll get from the international community, I think that these governors should have a rethink, because just like my senior colleague said, they can also create their state anti-corruption agencies that can work hand in hand with the EFCC, because this fight against anti-corruption need all of us to be involved in it, and the support of the federal government, the state government, and the local government, so that corruption will be tackled.
Okay, Barrister Gbagir, weigh in on this subject matter. You are a lawyer. You have been in court, maybe possibly handling some cases. In your opinion, what could be the reasons primarily behind the governor's action against the EFCC, particularly challenging the constitutionality of its establishment and calling for its scrapping 21 years down the line of its establishment?
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, I have deliberately refused to comment on what is before the court.
Yes, we are moving away
I
from
think
that.
the issue is that, as I said, the EFCC has not lived up to its responsibility. The EFCC rather is being used for witch hunt. The EFCC is being used to go after some political enemies or perceived political enemies. If EFCC were doing their work in the way and manner they are supposed to do their work, I don't know the number of governors that left office in 2023, but how many of them are EFCC investigating? How many of them have EFCC charged to court? Because in the course of the 8 years of some of these governors, they were committing several financial crimes that if EFCC were doing their work properly, they would have been investigating and gathering evidence that as soon as, I remember when Fayose was leaving, immediately he handed over. He drove straight to report at the EFCC because he was aware that they were investigating him and they will eventually invite him. So he went out to report there. They have failed in their responsibility. And of course, if they are not doing their work the way and manner they are supposed to do, everybody now becomes skeptical. I had not wanted to mention this here, but let me use this opportunity to mention it. When I was the sitting NBA chairman of the branch, I went to EFCC's office because they arrested a lawyer who was the branch treasurer. Even that morning, I had a chat. I called her. We discussed on some issues. Later in the evening, it was the state attorney general that called me that she has been in EFCC custody. I went there. The EFCC assaulted me and damaged my left eye.
That's unfortunate.
So we have an EFCC that is not carrying out its mandate within the confines of the law. And they went later on, it was later on that I wanted to find out the issues that EFCC were investigating. And I was informed that there was a particular person that was given a contract. The man executed the contract and died before he was paid. His wife applied that the money should be given to her, should be paid to her. And they said, okay, bring a power of attorney. They went, they prepared a power of attorney, they took it to the suburb, and the chairman of suburb referred it to my colleague, who was the treasurer of NBA, who now minuted on it that the power of attorney meet the requirement of law, based on which the chairman of suburb directed that the woman should be paid. When the woman was paid, the man's other wife, who was no longer with the man, got wind of it that the other co-wife was paid this money. She now petitioned EFCC. EFCC now invited the chairman of SUBEB. When the chairman came, the chairman said, well, this woman brought power of attorney. His legal advisor, his legal officer, recommended that she can act on it, and based on that, she acted on it. They allowed him to go, whether water passed under the bridge or whatever. But they allowed the chairman, who gave the approval, to go. And then they wrote a letter to invite the legal officer, who was my NBA treasurer. On hearing that her chairman was in EFCC, she decided to go to EFCC on her own. When she reached there, they now said, okay, madam, since you are here, you answer our question. We're planning to send a letter or invitation to you to appear before us tomorrow. Now that you are here, answer our question. The woman now wrote her statement that they brought the power of attorney, that the power of attorney met the requirement of law, and she recommended to the chairman to act on it. A very simple statement. They now say, you must tell us whether they were influenced. The one said, no, we are acting on a document that came before me, and I acted on the document, and the chairman also acted on this document. So if there were any other thing, me, I am not aware. Because the woman that wrote the petition was saying that somebody powerful in government was the one that influenced that payment. So they wanted that the person's name should be mentioned. But even if I have something to do here, even if I'm looking for a contract here, and because I know the owner of this place and I contact him and he influenced it, the important thing is I bring my qualification. So you are considering my qualification. So whether somebody called that, yes, I know Barrister Gbagir, so give him a job, it's not material. They now say that since my colleague does not want to tell them this, because maybe they felt she was a woman, so they said that she will sleep here with them. They said, okay, no problem. So it was around even 7 p.m. or thereabout that the Attorney General called me and drew my attention to it. On my way to the place, I put it on our NBA platform that this is the information I got, and I'm driving to that place. The moment I reached there, the man on the gate, I was in NBA bus, written boldly on it, NBA Makurdi Branch. The way they were harassing me, I even put a call across to the then NBA president that this is the situation I'm in EFCC, and the way they are behaving, I don't understand. Later on, when the AG came, with their head of office came, they went in and they sent for me. The Solicitor General, Permanent Secretary of Minister of Justice, was the one that came to fetch me. When I went inside, he offered me a seat. The head of EFCC office in Makurdi said, no, me, I cannot sit here, me, I'm an agitator. And I was like, I didn't know that I'm being invited here as an accused. So, with due respect, as the chairman of the bar, I cannot come and stand and be answering questions from them. So, if I'm not going to be offered a seat, then I'm going to go out. As I just turned to leave, this one guy slapped me across my face, and the other ones pounced on me, and they gave me a very severe beating. I was hospitalized. I got my left eye damaged. I had to go through a surgery to rectify the issue. Is that what a responsible agency should do? And then the EFCC chairman then came here and was boasting over it. They issued a statement, the EFCC issued a statement that I mobilized thugs to go and rescue somebody from their custody. They don't even know how to lie. How can an NBA chairman, I was there in the presence of Attorney General, Solicitor General, and one of the principal assistant to the governor on legal matters, who was also past chairman of the branch, and the director of public prosecution, and then the director of admin, Ministry of Justice. Those were the people that were referring to them as thugs.
Anyway.
So the point I'm making is that as long as the EFCC is failing its responsibility to operate within the confines of the law establishing them, they will be called for their scrapping. because they are not living up to his usefulness, their usefulness.
All right. Maybe the next question when we come back after we may have interacted with the listener is that we know why an agency that is not living up to its responsibility, you are still calling for a scrapping, and it's originating from the governors. But that will be after we may have engaged with the callers. Dear listener, if you are just tuning in, the program is Perspectives, and we are discussing propriety for the cause of propriety of cause for the scrapping of EFCC by some governors. We're sorry we have taken up to 10 o'clock. We're due to have started taking your calls at 10. The number to call is 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, we would like to know your full name and where you're calling from. Keep your submission very civil and decent, in line with our conversation. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Morning.
Good to have you join us.
My name is Wisdom. I'm calling from Boko.
Okay, Wisdom Kuhwa. Which part of Boko are you calling us from?
It's Boko West.
Sorry?
From Cameroon, behind General Hospital, Boko West.
Very well. Go ahead, Wilson.
Yes, for me, I don't know the use of EFCC in Nigeria. I see them as another way of eating Nigeria's money, because if you take a look at something that happened, I can't remember the year exactly, but there was a time when the chairman of EFCC himself was accused of being corrupt, and something like that happened, if I'm not lying. So I don't know its use. So I urge the people who have the power to scrap them to go ahead and do it. That is my own opinion. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Wilson. That's your opinion, like you stated. 0814-335-9292. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning.
Could you speak up?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm David Aoga, from ABC.
David Aoga from ABC. You sound so low still. If you may speak up a bit so that we'll hear you, David.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Very well. Go ahead.
Oh, it's all right. Sir, you see, we Nigerians.
Hello, David.
We are Nigerians. And we had the blood of Nigeria in us. Hello?
You are on, David. Go ahead with your submission,
Okay.
please.
See, people say that a lion gives birth to a lion, and a goat also gives birth to a goat. And now that we are all Nigerians, you see, no matter what we try, we fail. EFCC are Nigerians, and Nigeria are known for their fruit. Our fruit is corruption. So we see what we've seen here, or is we cannot get to what we want. No matter what we try, we still fail. These people here, you see, our politicians vote them. They cannot do what they want. Hello?
David, thank you for your submission. I think you have made your points.
Right.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry we have to disconnect with you because the network seems to be very unfriendly and you are interested in maybe knowing that you are on, but you have made your point. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Yeah, this is Agata Paul.
All right. Paul.
Calling from high level, old road.
Very well. Speak to us, Paul.
Yeah, I want to appreciate the former chairman Bar Association in the studio, and appreciate Agate Radio for this wonderful topic.
Thank you.
Before I comment on it, I want to throw another question. I don't know. Those EFCC staff has been screened before they employ them as staff of EFCC, because you see a young man who have just been employed within a year, you see him driving a flashy car, spending money, doing all kind of big boy in the town, but I don't know. So too, truly the way they handle some issues is very ungodly. I expect they are there to investigate, check, and know the details about you and your income and what you're spending and all that before they take their judgment on you. But you see them harassing people, arresting people, and at the end of the day, they collect huge amount of money on some individual, and I don't know whether the money is being given proper documentation into government account or where the money go to. Many people doesn't know. But is there any documentation of that money into the government account? Thank you. I raised my case.
Paul, thank you very much. Thank you for calling in. Anyway, we are not privy to the mode of recruitment of the EFCC, so that may actually be outside our focus to find out whether they're screened or not.
Good morning, sir.
Morning to you.
Yes, good morning. This is State Wasisesu Michael, the head of state, calling from Bayongo, Makurdi.
Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Yes, for me, I will not just go condemning the work of EFCC. I will first of all appreciate them so much. In as much as they do their work, people are still stealing the government money. It shows that in a house where there is people are still attacking the house. In the absence of a dog, nothing will be kept in that house. So I will appreciate them very much. But another way, they should try to educate us much more about the money they recover from the government, the bad government. Because that is where people are having problem with them. People don't know where this money is being documented. Let all their work. They are still doing best. But let them give out an account. Let them be accountability to the work they are doing.
Okay. Thank you, Tewase.
Yes.
Thank you for calling in. That's the beauty of this program. Perspectives, diverse opinions of people. We accommodate them insofar as they are in line with what we are discussing. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, President.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Yes, my name is Confidence from Panelists.
All right, Confidence, good to have you join us. Speak up so we hear you better.
All right, thank you. Barrister, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, Barrister, please, I have a question to ask. Why is it that truth don't be recognized in the court? And fact, if someone having a fact and evidence, which may not be true, that court respect that more than truth. I want to know, why is it happening? Until our court begins to see the truth and recognize truth in court and put it up than evidence. That's the only way we can get it right. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's the only way we can get it right in the fight for against corruption or what?
Yes, against corruption or everything.
Okay, Confidence, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You lawyers will have a task to tell us what is truth and how the court establishes what is truth. Maybe beyond the technicalities. Confidence wants to know. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nathaniel.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Yes, my name is Tenengi Shanubi. I'm calling from Idili, Makurdi.
Very well, Tenengi. Speak to us.
Okay, yeah. My regards to the learned gentleman in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, for me, the call by the governors for the scrapping of the EFCC is not necessary. I understand that.
Hello, Tenengi, are you there?
Expectation in terms of its effectiveness. But then, they should rather be encouraged, enhanced to operate better in terms of empowerment and then not influencing them. They should be given a free hand to operate. That way I think they will perform better. And then the recruitment process too. Those that should be appointed as personnel of the agency should be people of integrity. Those that will not compromise while carrying out their functions. So I think that's just my contribution.
Thanks for your contribution, Tenengi. Thank you. The EFCC should be strengthened to serve better in its role fighting corruption in the country. Tenengi's submission. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. Good to have you join us on the program.
I am Prince Akabomeso.
You are close to your radio set and it's interfering. Turn down the volume or move away so we hear you better, please.
Okay, I am Prince Akabomeso.
Akabu Meso.
Calling from Makurdi.
Okay, which part of Makurdi, Akabu?
Urukum axis heading to Abuja.
Okay, thank you. Akabu Meso, speak to us now.
Okay, it's about the people calling that the EFCC should be scrapped. No, I do not think it is the right thing. Now let us look at, can we say the Nigerian police should be scrapped? No, we have people of questionable characters in the organization. What I want, what I expect, or what I suggest to the government is EFCC should be meant to subdue, to court orders. They are like every other organization. They have people with questionable characters, but they should be meant to do the right thing. And people that are found, the personnel that are found guilty of some certain issues, should be meant to face the full wrath of the law. That is my submission.
Thank you, Akabu Meso. It does appear you are in traffic. You are traveling to Abuja, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
Have a safe journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Yeah. Maybe when you get to Abuja, you also help us speak to the authorities there that Benue people are also speaking and having their thoughts on this matter. Good morning.
Nathaniel, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Nongu Jones from Barr in both local government of Benue.
Okay, Nongu, go ahead, please.
Yes, it's an interesting program this morning that you have brought forth. Yes, you see, calling for the EFCC to not the best in Nigeria, because we have a situation where corruption has taken a day and is eating deep the fabric of this nation. So,
James, your network is breaking, so you are on quite okay, but your line.
Are you getting me now?
Very well.
Okay, so I am on the contrary that EFCC should say that it should be strengthened or else should be tightened so that those who are corrupt in the organization should be kicked out and punished equally, as are those that are always gone for by EFCC. And for them to have called for the stabbing of this agency, I think there is a pity, there is something that they are targeting, that they are calling for it to go. They were there, especially the executive, at times they used this agency to withstand political opponents. But still, EFCC has to be here, and the all things about it should be done away with it, but it should stay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, James Nongu, for your contribution. 0814-335-9292. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Nathaniel Nongu.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My name is Orahi Theophilus from Urukum, Makurdi.
Okay, go ahead and speak to us, Theophilus.
Well, my contribution to EFCC's impact is, I just want to say that EFCC, according to me, has been scored low. Why have they been scored low? Because there are so many factors that are hindering the EFCC from carrying out their job, apart from the bad eggs that are in the system. One, government bureaucratic bottlenecks. There are so many processes, investigations, endless investigations, court sessions, and all of that are actually affecting the job of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. And number two, at times you see when you don't belong into the fold, you are attacked headlong and nothing is done to some who are left there corrupt. And you see most of these corrupt politicians, some of them, public holders, some of them go into in other elective positions. What is the security test? When you pick up a form or a nomination to vie for a public office, you are checked by the EFCC. What security check do they do to allow these people to skate through and become the House of Representatives, the senators, and what have you? And if they are manning those positions, how are they going to act strictly or to check the EFCC to do their job? So this is the problem. Okay. Government bureaucratic net and being used as attack dog.
Thank you, Theophilus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have made your point. There's no point repeating yourself again. 0814-335-9292. A few more calls before we come back. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good to have you join us on Perspectives.
My name is King David, calling from Aledi, West.
Okay. King David, could that be your real name or King David is one name?
King David, okay, Ishu King David.
Ishuki David from Aledi. Okay, go ahead.
You know, this is my first time calling on your program, and I get radio also.
All right. We are good. We are glad that you made the time to join us.
About this, you know, Nigeria entirely. For now, we focus on only on EFCC, but you know, every department is not working the way they're supposed to work. Because for me, what I see from this government, our country is our leaders are the cause of everything. It's just like they use all these departments. If they cannot, let me say they introduce EFCC, all these things, to just, let's say they just introduce those things to confuse us with the masses or with the citizens. Because them, they have already get power. They are in there, doing whatsoever they want. So they use this thing to cover up for us not to understand what they are doing there. So even when these people, them that send the EFCC and other departments, just like you send your child out.
Okay.
So if the child go out there claiming he or her no better than you, to have the right, or let me say the power over her or him.
Thank you, David.
To quit them from what you send her or him to do. So
that
is what they are doing there.
Thank you for calling in. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Could you speak up?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I'm Kwada Vincent calling from North Bank.
Okay.
Yes, I greet the guests in the studio and I get radio.
Yeah, warm greetings to you, Kwaza. Go ahead with your submission.
Yes, the EFCC was established by law, mandating them to investigate financial management among in our society. So, and they have been doing their work effectively. So, if a group of persons now begin to call for scrapping out that agency, which was established by law since before they became...
Kwaza Vincent, let me interrupt you. It's not just a group of persons. On this program, we are specific, some governors. So let's make it clear
if some governors begin to agitate for scrapping out this particular agent, which they have been working well before they become these governors, so it has now given the agency the searchlight where they should focus their work now. Because if somebody in the society begin to stand up today and say, "Oh, we don't want police station in our society," then that person must be on the watch. Now they are calling for the scrapping. Then the EFCC have the areas where they work effectively now. So they should focus on these particular governors who are calling for scrapping this agency that has been working well. Instead of calling for more of this agency to be created in order to reduce this hardship we are having in us, they are calling for scrapping. So the agency should now have the focus to work now.
When you mention reduce hardship, that's where, is it reducing hardship or corruption? Because I think their mandate is not for hardship.
Yes, once those people are afraid of embezzling our money, then the hardship will now reduce, because it's through this money they embezzle that we have this hardship in our society. So if they can now call for more creation of this agency, it will help a lot.
Thank you.
Instead of saying they should scrap them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, different opinions, varying submissions from Nigerians on what is their take. Barrister Sorkaa, we'll pause here briefly before we go back to the course. The submission by Barrister Gbagir before we started taking calls was that the EFCC is grossly underperforming, not living up to its mandate. But one we wonder, if the commission is not living up to its mandate, why then are the governors still calling for its scrapping?
The governors are calling for its scrapping because they feel that EFCC has no business meddling into their affairs in their respective states. That is the.
But let me interrupt you briefly. When you say meddling,
yes, because
does it actually appear like they are meddling when they are empowered by law that created them?
They are empowered by law, but the state government feel that they are meddling because there have been previous cases that they have gone to court, they have lost. These same governors, they lost cases in court. Even Benue State was in court over the same duties of EFCC, they lost. I know of other several states too, Oyo State government too, they lost. Even River State government too, they lost in court. Even Abia, they lost, and other states. Because what they were saying in the cases that they lost, they were talking about them being a state government, where will the federal agency be trying to detect how they will spend their finances. They have their auditor general, they have their accountant general, and all those things in the state. So those were the issues they took to the court that they lost. So looking at the scenario that they went to court, they lost. They have been this thing within their mind that why will a federal agency tell me what to do in my state when I have a House of Assembly that I send my budget to, I have respective agencies in charge of how finances come in and go out, and everything is being audited. So why will I now submit expenditures or expenses of the state or the local government in the state, which are of course autonomous, onto the EFCC? So that has been largely, I believe, the reasons why they are not comfortable with the EFCC, because I feel that they feel that they should be that independence. The federal government agency should not dictate or meddle into their own affairs as a state, and that is why Kano went ahead to create, and I think another state also created their own anti-corruption agency. They are not really against the fight of anti-corruption, but they are trying to look at a different approach towards it. But I feel that that is the reason behind these state governors being against EFCC is mainly on that issue of meddling into their affairs. They feel that they should have independence of how they spend their resources and not being subjected to EFCC.
By the Sorkaa, the EFCC is an institution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The states are also federating units of the country Nigeria. The law that enabled the creation of Nigeria, EFCC, is the Constitution of Nigeria. The resources that the state governors spend gets to them from the federation allocation. Could that still be categorized as the EFCC meddling into the affairs of how the state will spend their own funds?
Well, from experiences, these state governors have always been of the view that the EFCC, although it's a federal government agency, it's created by the National Assembly, and it does not...
With representatives of all Nigerians there.
Of course it does, but their argument have been that it does not bind them. That is why, like I said earlier on, they have gone to court, but they have lost. They have lost several high court cases. Whether there was an appeal, I do not know, but I have seen several cases that they lost in trying to say that I have my own House of Assembly. You can't tell me how I'll spend my resources. I cannot be gagged by you and all those things. But of course, the court have told them in all these cases that the EFCC is, just like you said, the EFCC is empowered by the Constitution, and they are doing their constitutional duty in trying to see how to fight anti-corruption. So even these plans by the state government to make EFCC to be redundant or to scrap it, as it began longest time ago, they have been going to court, but they have been losing those cases in court. Several of cases have been in court because they have felt strongly that the EFCC ought not to meddle into their affairs. Although it is empowered by the Constitution, they have their own views. They have lost these cases, and they have not given up. That is why they are also still in court. The matter is in court. Court will determine the matter as it is. But I know that flowing from their reactions, that is all about it. They feel they have a House of Assembly, and since they are a state government, although under they don't want to say that they are under the federal government, that they are their respective states, and they have their assemblies, so they should be allowed to do things in their own way. And that is why I believe that we're having all this issue of these state governors not supporting the EFCC to operate carry out their mandate.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for holding on. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Nathaniel Nongu.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning to your guests in the studio.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, I am Engineer Sunday Akbar. I'm calling from North Bank, Makurdi.
All right, good to have you.
I appreciate you for the program, for the topic. And your guests have spoken very well. But let me start like this. It is stated that in every nonsense there is sense. So I believe, despite the shortcomings of EFCC, we don't have to throw the baby away with the bathwater. Just like one of your guests made an allusion to it, that they should be undergo some transformation and reform. Let them make the staffers of the EFCC more civil. Let them not be militant. Let them not play God. And when they do that and they reform, they make them independent so that they can back and bite, so that there will be no sacred cows. I think they are good to go. And then even if EFCC is to be scrapped, the copper, the axis from which they call for a scrap is coming from is quite suspect. It's suspect, not from the governors. It shouldn't be from them. What is their reason? Their reason is suspect. So I'm of the opinion, in alignment with one of your guests, that EFCC should undergo transformation and they should be given independence, and then they shouldn't have any sacred cow. They should treat every Nigerian as Nigerians and every offender as an offender.
Okay.
So that is my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunday. Thank you very much. Barrister Gbagir. In fact, borrowing from where the last caller stopped, the governors, we are told, have immunity. And of course, it is granted in the Nigerian Constitution. Isn't it suspicious that governors are the ones advocating that the EFCC be scrapped when they have an immunity covering them? Is there something they are shielding with this store corruption fight in the country?
Well, first and foremost, let me just repeat this. If EFCC, 20-something years since their establishment were doing what they are supposed to do, maybe any governor or governors that would want to come out and call for their scrapping will be scared of the public reaction. But the EFCC in the past 20-something years have failed in this responsibility. And for me, I feel that there are two reasons that must have accounted for this. EFCC as a federal agency, you also made this point, we are in a federal system of government. We have the federal government, we have the state government, and we have local governments. In a federation, there are some powers and responsibilities that are also constitutionally assigned to the three tiers of government. So if EFCC as a federal agency established by an act of the National Assembly and charged with the responsibility to fight corruption or address the issue of financial crime in Nigeria, is mostly seen as an attack dog targeted at the states. If you hear of most serious cases handled by EFCC are those that are from the states. We have federal ministers, we have the National Assembly comprised of the senators and the House of Representatives. We have several federal government agencies that are manned by directors or CEOs and all these things. how many of them are EFCC investigated and are standing trial? And if we recall where this current call for the scrapping of EFCC emanated from Kogi State. And if we follow what has been happening between EFCC and the immediate past governor of Kogi State, then you will realize that there is some certain issues that made the Kogi State government to first fire the shot calling for the scrapping of EFCC. At some point, the sitting governor of Kogi State even went to EFCC's office with the immediate past governor. This is somebody that EFCC had published, and they were crying here and there that he is wanted. But when they went there, he was released. I think it was that same day or the following day, there was an invasion of his residence or whatever. So the point is that the governors are perceiving that EFCC as a federal government agency is there as an attack dog of the federal government against them. When you have not looked at the details of the submissions before the court, and as we said earlier, these are the issues that are before the court, yes, which we don't want to comment on them. But then, the emphasis, which I'm re-emphasizing, is that if EFCC have its independence and it is conducting its own affairs independently, impartially, without fear or favor, without acting at the whims and caprices of the federal government, then all of us, all well-meaning Nigerians, we appreciate their work. But a situation where it is seemed to be an attack dog of the federal government, targeting perceived enemies of the federal government, going after the states. That is where the states are down. They now feel that as federating units, they are not to be under the control or whims and fancies of the federal government. So, if the federal government also want the EFCC to operate optimally, they should stop asserting unnecessary control over the EFCC. I was discussing with someone, most of the governors that left office in 2023, some of them that are supposed to be behind bars, or at least by now EFCC should be updating us on the investigations that they have carried out against these governors. But some of them, they are enjoying the protection of the federal government. They are enjoying the protection of the federal government. And that is why they are roaming the street free as free people. With their EFCC is not going against them because they are enjoying protection from the federal government. So, if the federal government, which is controlling the EFCC, is not allowing the EFCC to operate in line with its mandate, then if they are giving room for this call for scrapping of the EFCC.
Okay. Just a moment, I'll come back to you. Hello, good morning. Okay, unfortunately, we lost connection with the caller. But, Barrister Gbagir, some of these states, for instance, I will still emphasize the issue of immunity, and they are also in the same party with the federal government. They are in the good books of the federal government. Is there something they are hiding that you have not been indicted yet, and you are calling for the agency to be scrapped? You have not been invited. What exactly could be something, or do you?
I don't know how you want me to put it.
No.
I am saying that the same EFCC is not going after some certain, even the immediate past governors. In fact, even the immediate past governor of Benue State, The EFCC invited him.
Yes.
He went there and left. Up till now, we have not heard anything about it.
Okay.
Does it mean that he doesn't have any issue to answer?
Okay.
Let me make this point.
Make.
I was discussing with someone that because the EFCC have refused to act on the issues before them in respect of the immediate past governor, now the state is left with the option to go through the judicial commissions of inquiry, and then it is only then that if after they get evidence to prosecute him, then the Attorney General of the state can file direct criminal cases against him.
Very well.
Because EFCC have failed in their responsibility to investigate the allegations against him and prosecute him.
Okay.
And I believe it is the same situation in other states. So if we have a situation where some of the immediate past governors in Nigeria here, people like Wike are roaming the street, having media appearances, trying to pull down the state, making unnecessary utterances, and they are left because they are federal minister. As a federal minister, he doesn't enjoy any immunity, and he's being shielded. And you expect the governors who are also in charge of their state to keep quiet?
Okay.
When EFCC is failing to its responsibility to perform its mandate?
Very well. Now, we as much as possible, we agree that we are going to avoid name calling. But let's the issue of Benue, for instance, which you cited. Here is the immediate past governor who you admitted rightly EFCC invited him. He answered whatever questions they may have invited him for, perhaps to their satisfaction, and may have left. Here is an immediate past governor who, in the public domain, said he is available to answer to whatever may be preferred against him. It's even in the newspaper reports of how he was advising his former governor colleague, Yahaya Bello, who was on the run, that he should stop disgracing former governors. So, in event where the charges are against you, and you answer to them, is that still a crime in the eyes of the law?
The point I have made, which I'm emphasizing, is that the EFCC are not allowed a free hand to operate by the federal government that is controlling the agency.
Okay.
And the state governors are feeling that it is being used as an attack dog against them.
Okay.
And then where the EFCC, even against the immediate past governors, I have only mentioned these two. How many governors, how many of the immediate past governors that left office in 2023 that are being investigated?
All right.
In Kano, the immediate past governor is the acting chairman of the EFCC. It is the Kano state government that is taking steps to prosecute him for the offenses that he committed in Kano. EFCC are not going after him because the federal government is protecting him. He's the acting chairman of the ruling party. Do you understand? So the point is that EFCC is not allowed. I have just made this full instance. I can mention more.
No.
But they are covering them up. The EFCC is not performing. And the governors are feeling that if we have a federal government agency that is fighting corruption and it is choosing who to investigate, who to prosecute, then it has outlived its usefulness.
Okay. By Sorkaa, listening to your co-discussant on the program, from the point of 7 governors who have not been indicted yet, is there something they are shading that they want the EFCC scrapped now when they have not been? Most of them being in their first term in office and enjoying an immunity. So where can the position of EFCC being used as an attack dog against them come into play now with the immunity they are enjoying?
Despite the immunity that I enjoyed, I still align with my senior colleague on the view that EFCC is more of an attack dog on the state governments. We're not unaware of most of these cases are on these governors, past governors. We hardly see cases from the federal. I'm aware that I saw in the news recently yesterday that Beta Edu, I'll call that name because it was in the news, she was indicted, investigated over some particular amounts of money running to billions. He said the Federal Executive Council said she was cleared by the agency, which is the same EFCC, and the Federal Executive Council will bring her back to her position. So when you see those kind of things, of a honorable minister that was suspended will be brought back, the person is not convicted, then you'll be wondering why Farouk Lawal was convicted and he served, I think, 5 years. He just came out yesterday from Kuje prison. So is it that the law, for some, they are sacred cows, and then the governors, they go after them. So they are in their first tenure, but they are aware that this EFCC, federal agency, is being used as a attack dog against them. So they will, since it's being used as an attack dog against them, they are trying to deploy their arsenals to see what they can do, so that the EFCC, that is being used by the federal government as an attack dog on them, will be scrapped. That is the main reason why, because of the attack on them, and not the federal government is there, but we don't see more of those cases. It's more on the state governments.
Okay, does it mean EFCC can only be used as a attack dog against serving governors and not former governors? Since both of you brought in the picture of former governors, so there is a possibility that EFCC can also be used as an attack dog on former governors or public officers in general.
Yes, EFCC is an attack dog mainly on these categories of people. That is why they are not quite okay with that, because attack dogs on them, because where they are in office, this same particular category of people that are in their first tenure, which you said they have immunity, they are also aware of what has just happened to their colleague who just served and finished. So that is why, like you said earlier on, they have immunity, but they're approaching the court. They're approaching the court because they are aware that subsequently, when they are done, 4 years or 8 years, as the case may be, the EFCC will still come after them. And the EFCC ought not to be getting involved as an attack dog, but carrying its duties on everybody involved in the fight against corruption, not only on the governors or past governors, but on everybody who is involved in economic and financial crimes.
Okay, Barrister Gbagir. Now, still on the same issue, if the EFCC perhaps is shielding past governors, shouldn't sitting governors have the same disposition that they will enjoy same shielding by the time they leave office?
Is Yahaya Bello not a past governor? That's why we are saying that they are choosing who to go after. They are not doing their work holistically. So even if you are a sitting governor, if you leave and you are not in the good books of the powers that be, they will go after you. And that's why I'm saying that because they are not doing their work holistically and partially and impartially, there is a concern.
The case
and
of,
then they
the case of Yahaya Bello, which you have brought on and on again. Yahaya Bello served in the same ruling party that is still in power. It is still the same party of his that has returned office in Kogi State. So,
but he's not enjoying the protection for whatever reason.
Why is it so?
I wouldn't know.
Former governor.
I wouldn't know. Is he the only immediate past governor?
But you have spotlighted his case. Which
exactly.
Is
so because I have not known of any other one that the EFCC is going after. I have not known of any. Now, another issue. When I narrated the experience I had with EFCC here.
Yes.
The state officials in the state here that were supposed to help me out in this matter, they told me that, look, Gbagir, look, we cannot stand with you against EFCC. These people have been disturbing us here. If we stand for you against them, they will come after us. So
but you said
carry your own cross.
But you said the Attorney General was there with you. So was that not part of standing with you?
He was there with me when they assaulted me. After the assault, what did he do? Did he come out as the State Attorney General and issue a statement condemning what the FCC have done? No.
Anyway,
so the point I'm making is that
just try to conclude because
yes, the point I'm making is that we have EFCC going to the state, carrying out investigations of government activities. In as much as the governors enjoy immunity, we have EFCC going to states, investigating activities of the state left and right, and collecting the kickbacks, doing all these things at the states, even here in the past administration. This same issue, I told you that I went to EFCC, that I was assaulted, emanated from suburb. And I believe it's the same thing that is going on in the state now. So in as much as the governor as an individual enjoys that immunity that he cannot be arrested, you have cases of EFCC inviting other heads of agencies here and there. During Suswam administration, a local government chairman was arrested, and he was saying, in fact, there was this common saying that he said that he had only dipped his hand inside OA money, and they arrested him, and the other people have been swimming inside the OA money. So when they arrested him, somebody was telling me that when they arrested him and they were going to taking him to Abuja, he called the governor and said that, well, for me that only dipped my hand inside the OA, and they arrest me and they are taking me to Abuja. So if I reach there, I will also tell them about those who have been swimming inside this oil. That was how they brought him back. So the point I am making, which I want to emphasize, is that EFCC is not doing his work holistically.
Okay.
If they are doing their work holistically, all of us will support.
All right.
And even those who are against them will know that, yes, when you do something wrong, it's just like in a school. Where the principal is a disciplinarian, that he's disciplining everybody. He's not choosing who to discipline and who to leave. Then there will be discipline in that school.
Our time is up. In conclusion, in 30 seconds, what can be done to make the EFCC function better, and the governors also be transparent in their conduct so as not to be asking for the scrapping?
Let the federal government allow the EFCC to operate independently.
On the part of the governors?
On the part of the governors, if they so desire, let them also establish their state anti-corruption agencies that will partner with the EFCC to deal with the issues of corruption in their respective states.
And from you, by Sorkaa, what can be done to strengthen the corruption fight in Nigeria, both on the part of federal government and the governors, and also the commission?
On the part of the federal government, I would like to see a reform in the law, so that those who get involved in corruption don't just go for plea bargain or just serve a few years, but they face the death penalty. And then the EFCC should be given full independence, and the governors should also support them in the fight against corruption.
This is where we draw curtains on today's edition of Perspectives, which will discuss propriety of cause for scrapping of EFCC by some governors. Barrister Justin Gbagir, former chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Makurdi Branch, an anti-corruption advocate. We thank you very much indeed for your time with us on the program, Gbagir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Barrister Nathaniel Sorkaa is a legal practitioner, notary public, and public affairs commentator. We appreciate you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Dear listener, that's our program today. Join us on Friday for a fresh edition. I am Nathaniel Nongu. Have yourself a great Wednesday ahead. Goodbye.